I do suppose people came here for the key, the solution of finding happy or happiness. And because this is a live show, I will give this a couple minutes before I dig into the paradoxical nature of everything that makes you have happiness, or assists, or the being of happiness. We'll give it a couple minutes before we discuss. Is the key to happiness in this beverage here? Is it in this book? Is it in this tree? Is it in there? Inside of my head? Maybe it's behind these glasses. That might help me. No, it's not helping me see. What's up, Zach Chrono? What's up, people? Let me see here. What up, Rising Love? What's up, Steve P? Well, Eli Jen, there it is. Poof, thinking and I show up. Let me see if I can find a better place for this. Maybe. I don't know why I haven't figured this out yet. Shadows and things. Oh, Steve P. Thank you. And yeah, I'll hit you on. Hit me on my email, Theoluminous. It's underneath here. It's underneath the description. And yeah, I do one-on-ones, man. Hit me on my Theoluminous, and I'll get back to you, because I seen you gave me 2 different Gmail accounts, so I didn't know which one you want me to contact you at.
All right, see you later.
But we'll dig into this key to happiness in a second here, as usual. I'll give it like 5 minutes, see who shows up. That's evening for you, Steve, huh? Van breakdown, man. That's, huh? What went wrong with it? Was it yours? Did it were you driving it? What was it exactly that happened to it? Because a friend of mine, I used to talk about automobiles and its relationship to the everything's morphogenetic in a way that so within, so without. Things that are internal also show up externally that give you kind of clues into your consciousness, or maybe a physical ailment that you have, that you'll find a very similar construct in the vehicle. And she was having problems with the same part of her that the vehicle was having problems with. So sometimes you can look to something as bizarre as that may sound. It's very funny, because a friend of mine, years ago, when he would borrow a car, of my friends, and after he would use it, there was something different about the car, and it had to do with the kind of music he used that he liked, the way, just slightly how he would drive it, and his energy that he was putting into his car. And that same kind of vibrational energy you could put into your car, and find out that to you it doesn't seem like much, but 10,000 miles of driving a car the way that you do, and if you have a problem, maybe say with the engine of your body, if you called, maybe your stomach is your engine, like, well, we could walk through what parts of the car are what, but you might be able to find out that there's a very similar, you could look, the same way you can look at the palm of your hand, or you could look at your back, or you could look at your foot, and it's all hyper-referential to your body and internal environment, that you can look at a car and see the same thing. You can look at the way somebody draws a picture and get an idea about some sort of ailments that someone might have. So I find that kind of stuff very, very curious and interesting. I mean, it doesn't always show up perfectly because there's a time delay on these things, but you had the exhaust stolen, so somebody stole the gas out you, stole the exhaust would be what, the part that makes something not loud or cleans the air. So you might be able to find a very similar, I don't know, maybe you've been very loud lately, or maybe some sort of cleansing thing that you have in your body, like maybe your sinuses, or maybe your lungs might be having some problem that you could find. Look at that parallel, maybe. I always find that those are very curious to me and interesting. Like, I remember I got part of my bike stolen, and it was right around the time that, like, things in my life weren't functioning well, and the 2 tires on my bike got stolen, and it was completely directly in line with the kind of attitude and things that were going on in my life, and I was like, oh, look at that. What up, High Tech? What up, Cam? So I'll just jump into this here. The key to happiness. I bet there'll be a lot of people jumping on here. I need to find the key to happiness. What is it? You must know what it is. And it is quite the hilarious situation that we all live in. It's life and happiness and joy and contentment and all of these experiences. The curiosity and the paradox of it is, to be happy, you have to be in the moment now. And basically to erase your mind from any future or past, and to live in the moment. And that's a wonderful and great idea, but when we come to terms with what we are as immortal, we realize this moment's going to go on forever, and you're going to get bored of sitting there inside of some sort of shape, posture, emptiness, and you're going to want to create something. And as soon as you realize that you want to create something and start interacting with what you see as the future, you've left that place of what you consider contentment or happiness or joy, and you realize you're going on a journey, an adventure. You go into the I guess you could call it the garden, or the labyrinth. The labyrinth would be the best way to put it. You would design out a labyrinth and walk through it. And as you're walking through it, like, where you find this this distinct feeling that you forgot something. Where is it? What, like right now, what is it that we've forgotten? What did you forget? Where are your keys? Do you have something you got to go do? Now, all of these things happen to everybody on a day-to-day basis, because we have this feeling that one day we won't have life. We won't have it. So there's always this anxiety towards the next thing that we need to accomplish. Well, I need to accomplish this to get money so I can pay for my rent, so I can have a place to live, so I'm not homeless, so I can eat food, so I can have friends, so I can have a social, thing. And so all of these things get in the way of that momentary happiness. But then if you sit there in that momentary happiness of okay, here I am now, and you're in this meditation, sooner or later that has to come to an end. Sooner or later that moment that you're existing in, which is eternity, everything is right here now, eventually you're going to say, hey, I want to participate in this physical realm and in this universe, and I want to be creative. And that process of being creative takes you out of the moment of joy and happiness. Sometimes. Other times people are very happy creating. And that's that sort of meditation, that mindless meditation to mold something. But once you find that completed object, you have to somehow find that this is the story that's always given of having idol worship. And if you create something and you're like, oh, there's my child, and you say literally, like, it could be a physical embodiment of another spirit. There's your child, or you could be a literal object. You designed a car, you designed a piece of art, and so there's this really interesting space in between completing a creation and going, I can bask in the glory or whatever of the thing that you've created. But some people don't even enjoy that, and they move on to the next thing so quickly that they found themselves having created all of these things and never taken a moment to enjoy any of these things. So there's this really interesting paradox between being here now, enjoying something, and still being able to create something to have a future with, because things become mundane. Sit in the same place for long enough in the same white room, you're going to want to create something. And so that space, it's an interesting one of finding the balance between being here, meditating now, going, and knowing that sooner or later you'd like to fill in the blank white page with some coloring. And in that coloring, it can be found peace, and can be found struggle. You can find all sorts of things. But the paradox again is realizing that A, you're here now, and B, you're here now forever, which is immortality. And so once you come to immortality's door, you go, oh man, this whole thing becomes even a bigger thing. Like, there's all sorts of creation to be done. But then there's also, well, if immortality is true and I'm here forever, what do I really need to do? I could sit here and I'm good. What else do I need to do? And then you'll become effectively, like, that'll be great. That's, everybody likes a Sunday afternoon to just relax on the couch and stare off into the nothingness. Maybe stare at the TV, maybe read a book, maybe meditate, whatever. But then there is that next day of, okay, let's movement. Let's get into why we're in these spacesuits. Why are we in these physical forms? So there isn't one key. It's a matter of making keys. You become the key maker. It's not like you don't have one key that unlocks all the locks. I mean, that's you to begin with, but then you actually have to make all of the keys because there's boxes and buildings and places that you want to get into and participate in. So it's about designing the key to get into the place that was already there existed. So you just create keys yourself, whatever they might be, and that's the process of oh, here, unlock the box. There's Pandora's box. What do you want to play with? So I'll dig into whatever you guys got to say on this. I didn't really have much beyond that, because I don't really think there is a singular way to be. There's not a singular thing to do. There's not a singular anything other than life. Life is, everybody likes to say it. Oh, we're all one thing. Yeah, but you have your experience and I have mine. So we have this. This as so within, so without. So because I have life, you have life, and vice versa. But you're still having your experience from your angle. So I can't give you the keys that I have. The things that I want to do now and today are completely different than you. I want to sit here and, like today, what will make me happy? I don't know what will make me happy. Nothing will make you happy. Nothing will. People always talk about, like, make me happy or make this. No, you happen to be. And this is the funny thing when people become, as I spoke about depression before and anxiety and all of these things that there's supposed to be some solution to, and quite realistically, it's in trying to find the solution that you've given yourself the problem. If you just say that, well, it just happens to be, it is such that right now my feelings on the matter are, my feelings now is I'm slightly depressed, I'm slightly happy, I'm slightly I'm motivated. I'm not motivated. I don't have any. I don't desire that. Oh, I do desire that. And those things. That's the part to engage with. Here's how I was thinking about it the other day. Is you have to get outside of your head and inside of your body. Okay, try this again. As I was explaining a couple days ago, that your mind is out here and you're walking around in your mind. You have to get outside of your mind and outside of your head and get inside of your body. You have to compress all of this reality back inside of yourself to actually know where you stand in this world. And then from there you find yourself as a feeling being, this empathy, this how do I interact with anything. I'm walking through this empty space, it's all my mind, but once I can press myself into this body, then this is what was inside of my mind, this is what it looks like, this is what it feels like, this is what it smells like, and you find yourself, there's the fun little adventure you've created. And then you walk through your day and you had a good adventure, and then you design it out in your dreams. This would be the next level to, like, okay, do you want to be happy and joyful more often than not? The day that you wake up from the whole sleepy thing is the day that you actually figure out how to stay awake in your dreams, and realize that your dreams are time that you're programming this reality. And from there it becomes infinitely like more, whoa, oh, I'm in control of this thing. I can push the buttons at the computer. And then you have a little more control over and architecting your emotional state. Because then you have less to worry about, because you're immortal and you're creating your emotional state. So you can choose which one you'd like in the future. You don't get out of the whole gambit, the whole human experience, all the whole color of the color spectrum of feelings. That's, most people have had a wide variety and majority of the feelings of life. So now you get to pick and choose which frequencies and feelings do you like, and kind of what enables you to get those feelings. And a lot of people think it's continually doing the same thing again. I remember I felt good doing this, right? It's like chasing the dragon. It's like any addiction. Oh, that's the thing that made me happy. Well, you have to avoid feeling like that's the thing that makes you happy, and then you can work with it differently. Somebody thinks painting makes them happy. Is it that paint right there, that actual shape, that thing, or is it the ability to create? The creation seems to be the interaction, the creation and interaction with your creation that makes you, there I am. And I'll let this little thing scroll by so you can all hear me afterwards. Steve P, I know about that. He ran out of fuel. I'm gonna go back to that. See, look at me. Do you ever feel that way? I felt that way about 2 weeks ago when I wasn't making any videos. I was just out of juice, out of energy. And if I would have had a vehicle, I probably would have seen something similar. So did you find your life to be kind of like, oh, I'm gassed out, I feel like I should have some more energy, but you just don't? I'd like to do that. I know that would make me happy, but I don't have the energy to even, get out there and do that. I went through like 2 weeks of that, like, oh yeah, I'm kind of bored because I'm not interacting with people, but I don't want to go interact with people, but I would like to, but I don't have the energy to go do it. And that there becomes one of these other paradoxes of things, these other, what it takes for you to get out of the state that you're in is to actually do the thing that doesn't, I don't feel like moving, but I know that if I did, it'd feel good, but it doesn't feel good to do it. What a weird thing, huh? You'll feel better if you go run, you know that, but getting up and going to run, it's a struggle. What up, Steve and Co? The Steven. And that's funny, I just seen my buddy, his name is Steven. I haven't seen him in I don't know, 3 months. And yeah, the Steves. Steven, and Steve. And do I have a recommendation for a distiller? Get the there's a few on Amazon. The Mega Home is like $200 American monies. So I know that one to be really high quality. It's a little louder. It's got a little more, the motor's a little stronger, so it's a little louder. But it's a good piece of machinery that you can take apart and clean, and it's lasted so far, I don't know how many years, 5 years. And I have another one that I got for $90, which is the same size, but I can tell it's cheaper, and I can tell it's going to break soon. Like, I've had it for a few months, but it's like thinner material. It's much quieter. Like by a long shot, it's much quieter. And I think I don't remember the name of that, but you'll basically see 3 brands on there. One's $100, one's 180, and one's the Mega Home, which is 200. And you know, if you don't care about the sound and the noise, then I'd probably go with the Mega Home. That seems to be the popular one that people are talking about. And if anybody wants to, like, man, you could start a company if you knew what you were doing. Start a company making distillers and make them a little cheaper. Because there's really not much to it. What up, Resonance Creative? Yeah, Katesh, the idea of when you become the eidolon of yourself, or the idol of yourself, that's a healthy thing to a degree, you know. It's not to be narcissist. It's not to be narcissist or narcissistic, like to like fall in love with what you see in the mirror. But there is a certain healthy thing about, I like the way that I look. I feel good about this. I feel good that I present myself in a way that to somebody else makes them smile or be happy. So if I put these clothes on rather than dirty, filthy, scummy shit and not wash and blah blah blah, I mean, there's a certain amount of self-care, self-respect, self-reflection that if I do better for myself, and it apparently to someone else I look like, hey, that's a fun thing, or that's bring joy to something. So by looking in the mirror and understanding the use of the mirror to become your own idol in a way, without becoming like staring in the mirror all day and having things to, you know, that must be perfect, but to realize to use the mirror the same way that you'd use the black mirror, the white mirror, and the crystal ball, to be able to divine and shape and create a future that you want to be involved in. And that involves, like, with when you wake up in the morning, I mean, you're gonna pick and choose the clothes that you want to wear. When you go shopping, you're gonna pick and choose. You're not just gonna like, oh, I must be like the guy, you know, the gurus and the yogis. They always wear the same thing every day, and they look completely content and happy. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know how many. You don't know their life. You don't know that they're happy just because they got a smile on their face. Some of them maybe, but again, it goes back to what kind of experience do you want? And I don't think most people want the lifestyle of a yogi or those kind of like the orange wearing, go be a Buddhist monk. I mean, if you do, and that's your journey, it'll be for a little while. It's plenty of people that will do that for a little while, but then come back to a different reality, change reality. But yeah, again, the idol worship is to say, hey, this thing over here outside of me is separate. That's what I pray to. That's my God. But to actually be inside of your own body and participating in your own inner verse and experiencing everything you can through touch and feel and participating in the world the way you see it, the way you hear it, the way you smell it, taste it, touch it. Who doesn't want to eat better food? Who doesn't want to listen to better music? Who doesn't want to look better, feel better? And all those things help to engage the being to feel better. To find that's one of the keys to happiness. One of them, maybe. Somebody might feel better not to look, I don't know. Maybe somebody was too much into fashion. They were a fashionista. And then realized one day, oh, all of these things is not what satisfies me. It's just simplicity and having a simple life. And maybe that's the journey for somebody. So imagine that. 2 different people have 2 different solutions to the same thing. Well, Aldrin, you should just talk to your teachers and let them know. You could put me on. You could just put me on live. Talk to the whole class. Let them know what y'all want to talk about. I can. Like, hey, do you want to talk to a supreme God? Do you want to know the secrets of the universe? We put it on the. So is that's funny. Aldrin, you're getting teaching from the school in the States and understanding the architecture of the left brain, and you're getting the holistic right and more feminine right brain learnings and teachings. I think it's perfect. Listen with your right ear to what I'm saying and your left ear to what they're saying. You're golden. And then learn to juggle while you're doing it. Yeah, rising love, I like that too. But I think the most important thing about that is people are going to be unhappy. So you said sometimes the paradox of happiness is your happiness can bring unhappiness to others. Well, this gets back into something that I really like to focus on, and you're not in anybody else's head. There's nothing you can do but try to do what makes you happy. And if we spent our entire lives, which is I think why everything is so fucked up, like the church says, like everybody else says, oh, pay attention to everybody else, make sure everyone else is happy. Well, because nobody's paying attention to themselves, and they're falling apart. They're broken. Their entire body of like, and all of a sudden now they're the 60-year-old parents, like diseased, all decaying, and then everybody's got to go fix them. And like the whole idea of, you know, being yourself and being happy first is a primary focus. People need to be overly, and again, this is only a response to the general sense of the state of society in the world. Is too many people are too concerned with what everybody else thinks. My happiness makes you sad? Well, fuck you. Like, sorry about that. Wait, did I say sorry? No, see, there's no apology for my happiness. You know, should I be sad with you? Should we all get in the boat of unhappiness together? Should I be sad so you can be happy? Yeah. So I think it just comes back to realizing, like, the world is all self, so do you, you know? And as I've really kind of harped on the last maybe a couple months for people, is the more involved with yourself you are, the better you are at helping others. The more money you have, the more money you have to give. The more energy you have, the more energy you have to give. And so the more you focus and work on yourself and increase, like I put it this way, there's no way I'm giving all of this to you people that I know, the knowledge that I have, the little things I know about language and magic and this and that. There'd be no way I could share this if I didn't spend introvertedly so much time on myself, my own mind, my own being. There'd be no way to give that to you. So that self-idol worship is a healthy thing, as long as you don't like just want it for yourself. It's all mine. It's mine now. that becomes the dilemma. Rising love, that's interesting. You wonder if our dreams are continuing even when we are awake. I suppose there's a parallel realities running on now. I think, though, that as you go up, there are a couple programming centers, you'd say. You'd be programming from a time, from a space that is outside of the time we're in here. So that would be kind of like sitting there hovering in a space of no time, no time. And from there you program everything else out. But there's parallel running programs, you know, of different, like if I say we're in the Kesh and we're all one and we're all the same thing, my parallel reality is you. My parallel reality that's running as a dream while I'm awake is somebody in South Africa, or somebody in, you know, somebody that's doing that. I can't see them right now. I'm not walking through their life. But interestingly enough, this morning I had I got into that hypnagogic imagery, and I was projecting about 3 or 4 seconds ahead, where what I thought I would see show up. It was like a very mundane thing, but I just remembered knowing that I was lying on the couch in this perfect state of imagery, where I was casting out through my third eye the imagery and knowing exactly what I would see next. That was pretty awesome. But think about doing that from an extended, larger perspective of mapping something out and then walking into it. Steve P, you had a bad depression for a few months, could not function or open your business, but you reckon distilled water helped. Yeah, man, distilled water is a very, very genius move for anybody. It's water that is not still, it's that movement. It's moving through the body to find and magnetize itself to all of the things that were depressing you and pull it out of your body, so that's awesome. Yeah, man. You got one for 50 bucks. I cleaned my distiller with citric acid. I thought it'd be great to make distilled water in the UK. Yeah. Zach Kroner, are you asking me if I thought of making a grimoire, like writing out an entire... Yeah, I do. Like, again, if you go back to my earlier videos, I talk about doing it. I've never written out a full, complete, long one. Because as I've always put it for myself, I like a little bit of, you know, realizing at times when you have too much control over the entire program, everything, there's no surprise, right? Knowing that, like, full well I could design out something. Yeah, to a degree I like that, to a little bits and pieces, but I also like a little bit of surprise because it keeps you kind of like, motivated and like, oh, okay, curious about nature. But, yeah, I mean, here's what I would do. I would probably wait until I organically, magically, mystically found somebody else to write a grimoire with. Because why do it alone? That would seem like I would have too much control over the process. And that in and of itself becomes too much, you know, too left brain, too masculine, too patriarchal, right? So I would wait to see that somehow magically, because I put out that thought into the universe, that somebody else had that thought and I collided with that person, and from there I would. But yeah, but the earlier videos I was talking about, there was the levels of the grimoire, and you've got your god forms, and you've got your like your little meeseeks, you know, your little minions and your meeseeks, and then you've got your making sigils, and so there's different levels to these things, and how much control and power they have over the next level down. But yeah, go through, and if you haven't, I suggest I'll do another one soon. I said I was going to do it, and I just so I haven't got around to it. I guess it's right around. I didn't realize it's right around the holidays, so I'll do another whole holiday series of gifts, and we'll do a full-on, like, I'll walk people through making sigils, making the neck. We'll go through the levels of them and actually walk through and do them, and you guys can design out gifts for yourself and for other people too, by making sigils, so that way that you see some crazy things happen and walk into somebody's life with, oh man, I just won a new car, and somebody's telling you about this awesome thing, you're like, oh man, I designed that into your life. And then you realize the power of sigil and grimoire magic, and the power of your mind, obviously. What up, Kia? Yeah, Katesh, that's one of the major things about magic, and it's always like people that want somebody to fall in love with them, and then that is infringing on someone's free will, that you put magic upon someone for them to do something. And yeah, that's the major thing that people need to get clued into immediately. Like, that's the first thing you need to know about magic. Is the free will is to ask the universal collective mind, the holographic projection of the entire morphogenetic universe, and saying that is like, oh, this overmind, the higher self, the whole thing of putting it out there and then receiving in whatever form it becomes, saying that's the thing that I want right there. That's where the you know, asking for inanimate objects is perfectly fine, and participating in saying these objects I want as part of my life, that's perfectly fine. But you know, weave no webs in here. Weave no webs in this area against other people, because then you're only webbing yourself to them, and that becomes chaos. Getting out of the chaos of the universe is projecting magic into the material realm, not into the spiritual realm. You pull out of the spiritual realm into the material realm, and the spiritual realm means, like, if that person has a body, there's a spirit in there, and you don't. If they happen to link up and line up with your vibrational thing, that's groovy. But you know, their state of being changes because they're spiritual, so it's everywhere. But a book is a book is a book. A box made of granite is always that frequency. And so to have what is a control to a degree, or to be able to have your willpower, to have 7/12, right? To have mind over matter. To have your mind over the matter, meaning a piece of matter, that's perfectly fine. And that's what is supposed to be taught. That's what's supposed to be understood. Is matter does not really matter, because it has no life. It just is. It's part of the whole thing. But you can It's not going anywhere. It's not mad at you. It's not. It's a rock. And hence, this is what I do. I'm a rock. There's no consciousness to it. But to another person, because they can fluctuate their consciousness, having any sort of coming out of the womb, you're connected to your mother. As soon as that cord's cut, that's what people will put their leechy little hands all over you, but it's from a spiritual level, and that's a lot of the false magic and false, as I put it before, what you would call, when you watch television or you go out and you listen to the radio, or you see all of these flashes and imageries, and it's a mental magic that is dealing with people's consciousness, that is actually locking people's consciousness to something, locking and dictating a consciousness to saying, hey, this thing is what you need. And so that actually, here, let me go a little farther with this. When you buy an item that's say like a salt, here's what happens is that salt itself is a material object, is matter. And when you put that in your body, somebody has control over that salt. Not over you, but over that salt. But now that it's inside of you, if they're magic and magnetic, because the salt is inside of you, they're talking to that salt and they're bringing the salt to them. So they've used what is all of the non-living world that is actually part of you to pull you and gravitate you, or not gravitate, but magnetize or electrify you into a state of being and needing and wanting and desiring. And this is why it's so very, very important, everything how this all links together with fasting and distilled water and cleansing yourself, is you get rid of all of the material objects in your body, and then nothing controls you, because it can't, because no one can architect and put a vibration out to that specific thing. Because if you don't have a piece of metal that's sitting there vibrating at 6,000 hertz, and somebody hits the button or puts their consciousness on 6,000 hertz, that's pulling and speaking to you. But if you get rid of all those things, that nothing owns you and you own nothing. And then you're just working with the immaterial world and working with consciousness and just creating with your mind. There's nothing linked up to you. Oh, masala chai tea, man. Masala just means spice. And chai tea is usually, it's going to be like cinnamon and, it's delicious. Just drink it. Drink it warm. It's like a golden milk. Drink it with a nut milk. It's delicious and very, very healthy. Pretty simple to make at home, like cardamom, cinnamon, turmeric, a little hot pepper, black pepper. Yeah, Katesh, that's funny you said that. I woke up yesterday and today with a much different something. I don't know, I just woke up and I was like more energized for whatever reason. I don't know. Like a switch happened, because I went through that lull of like 2 weeks of just going, man, I want to make videos, but I got nothing to talk about, nothing to say. And then I woke up, I was like, oh, where did this energy come from? And it was right after the moon. If anybody noticed this, dude, the moon, instead of being cut like in half this way, it was cut in half this way. It was like smiling this way. Imagine that. I've never seen that before. And somebody else commented on it. Did anybody else see that? This has happened like 3 nights out of the past couple weeks that I've seen, that the moon was this way, so you could see like that. Make sense? I've never seen it. And if you ask somebody right now, ask somebody to draw you a moon, I guarantee it's going to be sideways like this, because no one's ever seen a moon that was like that. I've never seen it before. Kia, that's awesome. Yeah, that's so funny. I was talking about the different types of aspects of killing yourself or suicide, meaning like to split off all of the forces that have any kind of power over you. It's not like you don't get rid of your whole body, you just get rid of pieces and ideas and philosophies and things you believe in. That's awesome. Is this copper? Something. It's copper or brass. Yeah, I got it from I got it from this little Egyptian store that I've gotten really cool things. Every time I've walked in there, they had one thing there that was like on sale that was just like, oh, that's mine. I'm like, why is that like right in the middle of the store on sale? I was like, oh, that's mine. And it was, I got that orange, you know, that orange hoodie that anybody seen had gold and orange all over it. And I got it with this bracelet, and both of them were on sale. This was like $5. I was like, how magical. Perfect timing. I like it. And the last time I went there, I got this gold and silver tunic. It was really awesome. And a friend of mine had a very crazy experience there with a falcon, where the person there took him into a back room, and there was a stuffed falcon that had, she said, basically some very powerful energy coming off of, and the guy, whenever she walked in, knew that she had some sort of connection to this falcon. Some like really next level stuff. Yeah, she's a super duper magician. She doesn't know it yet though, but we hung out a couple times and some crazy things happened, so. You draw, Aldrin, you drew 2 sigils at the back of a guitar with your eraser. Dude, you should draw sigils on your guitar, man. That's wicked. Aldrin, I wouldn't suggest putting them on a school. I mean, that's, you might, I mean, that's playing with archonic force, man. I would though, you should put them on your guitar. That's wicked. Kia, how long do you keep sigils before burning them? That's up to you. I think it really depends on the level of assurity that you have a feeling that is absolutely certain to pass. That you'll say, this is, you know, making a sigil, the idea of making a sigil is to re-encourage your subconscious mind and yourself that this is possible. And then once you've said, okay, you know, this is the reason you sit down at an altar with your sigil and you go through a whole thing, is because now you're completely focused with all of the elements and saying this is what will happen, and then you burn it and you're done with it. But other sigils, if you're like, man, I want a Lamborghini, and right now you make $10 an hour and you're working at Taco Bell, well, you're not too sure that you're going to get that Lamborghini. It's not really in there. But if you make a sigil about it, you would probably hold on to it and really engage with it until you feel that like this is absolutely certain. And then once you're able to be certain of it, then you burn it and then say, no matter how long it takes, you will get your whatever was on that sigil. So it's really dependent on the size. And when I say the size to you, the universe doesn't care about the size. The universe doesn't care what it is. But if you're very specific and it's something big and outside of the size of what you believe you can actually get or accomplish for the universe to provide you with, then that's something that you'd probably want to hold for a little bit longer, to charge more with more of your energy, more of your, you know, awareness and consciousness, because it really is a looping mechanism back to you to have self-belief and belief that the universe will provide you. And the universe, again, is not something outside of you. It's just something that you interact with. It's part of you. It's yourself. But just having belief in the larger concept that you're inside of your mind, you're inside of the whole universe, which is you. And saying whatever it is that you want. Steve P. There are so many different strains. I don't know. It depends on what you're looking for relief from. There's a lot of different. There's red, green, yellow, whites. There's and they all have different effects. Some are for mental clarity. Some are for focus. Some are for sedative qualities. So it really depends. Kava's really good though. If anybody's ever had Kava's pretty much legal everywhere still, I'm pretty sure, and you can get that on Amazon. And Kava's a nice muscle relaxer. Kava's good, like, you know, you got a day of working out and you're kind of sore. It's really good for muscle relaxing. Yeah, rising love, the moon. Yeah, so I'm kind of catching up here. So my question earlier, I'll see if everybody answered that about the moon. Did anybody else notice that about the moon? The moon has been very curious to me the last, I don't know, 10, 15 days. Cam, I'll do. That's a really big question. I don't know that I want to do that right now. I'm not like mentally in that mode. But I'm sure you could dip through some of my other videos, and I think I did one called the final talk on creationism and religion or something, and that's a pretty deep one on most of that. Melanation and Eskimo shamans. I couldn't really speak on the Eskimo shamans. I don't know much about them. I know about different types of Siberian shamans and native Aboriginal or original to the land a little bit, but not the Eskimo too much. And the melanin is a really big concept that I think a lot of other people have dug into deeper than I have, and probably are a lot more well versed on it. But I'll do that soon enough. Maybe that I'll do something around the holidays for the holy day of Christ Mass. What's up, Tom Corner? Yeah, the moon is I wonder. I do wonder what's going on with it. It's a little funny. Of course, Kia. I don't know what I said for you, but you're welcome. I was in the moment. I was just channeling information. And funny enough, somebody asked me earlier, what do I do? And it's hard to explain. When people ask me, I become very much like, I don't know how to explain to you what I do. We're out in public and somebody's like, what do you do? I'm like, you're looking at it. Steve P. Okay, you bought some green stuff. Is it green Borneo? That's a pretty much run of the mill standard, like good for all things. So yeah, most people start with the green stuff. In fact, there's a plant. I can probably walk inside and show you what it looks like, because this place has a plant growing in the front. It's pretty cool stuff. Zach Chrono, what do I think of paracosms? Super detailed imaginary worlds people have in their heads. I think that's awesome. I mean, I don't know much of it, but I've never heard the word before. I think that's probably what people design to actually walk into in the future. The idea of designing your own reality and then keeping that memory through what you'd call death, or like Dan Winter would talk about, like keeping your memory through death, is also the challenge of like tomorrow. Like you could really, if you wanted to, die in your sleep tonight and wake up tomorrow, and no one would know a difference about it, and you wouldn't either, other than you just walked into a different world. I mean, if you can do it in dreams, I've done it 4 levels deep, and to the point where I was like, oh, which world am I walking in right now? And I couldn't really figure out which one was the true world that I was in, because they were all exactly as absolutely solid as this. And so it was like my spirit jumped into 4 different bodies. So one thing people can do when you talk about these paracosms or paracosmos, I think, is whenever you get into these places, go look into a mirror. One of the biggest things you can do for your dream world and your dream work is go find yourself a mirror and go see what you can do from there. And if you're really brave enough, if you're that solidified in the dream world, go into a meditation in your dream world and try to imagine another dream. But don't do that too soon if you're not too comfortable in the dream world, because you can get like, you go into the labyrinth and you go into the maze, which can become quite a mental confusing realm where everything is possible and you're in so many different places. So that's the inception. Don't incept too far. I've done the inception too far before, and it's basically like doing way too many mushrooms, or doing DMT, or doing salvia divinium. It becomes a little bit okay. Well, apparently I'm just my mind right now, and I need to put myself into a specific place. Which one was it? Oh man, which world was I on? Oh, and Steve P. Whatever you read on the internet, first-hand knowledge of kratom is smaller amounts first. Ease into it because it has, it's like this, you know. It's like there's this point you're like, oh, there's nothing, and then it jumps into you, you know. You'll be very sensitive to it. So like 1 tablespoon might be enough, but 2 tablespoons be way too much. Yeah, I've made the mistake of drinking way too much, and it's not, you'll vomit. I vomited from it, and I also, it was you know, I'm a dumbass about things sometimes. I was drinking and smoking this and doing that, and I had like 3. I ended up being like, I got like a second one, which wasn't a good idea, and so yeah, it's not a good feeling. So be very, just like anything, just like any cleansing too, take it slowly. But once you find that little spot, it's good stuff. Like if you see me on some of these when I'm here later at night, maybe I'll be doing this because I get a little bit of itchy nose from it, and that's when I was like, okay, that's enough. It becomes a little tickly, like wine, like, you know, that little wine drunk you get. It's kind of like that. Ah, Rising Love. So some stars out of place. Cool. I don't really get to see the stars like that because of where I am. There's a little too much light pollution, but that's really cool. So did we jump into something else, y'all? Oh, and one more thing deeper about the moon thing. I seen the moon out at noon, like noon yesterday, and I was gonna do a video of it. I got too involved in doing some other things, and like it might even be out right now. Let me take a look. It might even be out right now. Of course it is. Here you go, y'all. Watch. There it is. Can I zoom in there? Man, I'm right in the... Let me get in the shade here. Okay. Let's see. See it right there? It's right above that. It's right up... See that lantern? It's right above it. There's the moon. See it? There's the moon, and it is what, like 2 o'clock, y'all? And there obviously is the sun right there. So, fun stuff, huh? Crazy, huh? Yeah, Rising Love. I'm really curious about the moon manifestation. Really. It's so interesting you put that. Like when I got in this really deep thing about the 2 types of elements that I thought the sun and the moon might be, the thinking that the moon might be a quartz crystal and the sun being a quartz crystal and the moon being a diamond. There's something interesting about what the moon seems to be and manifesting it possibly as part of our blood system. And the kind of salts and things, and the connection that the salts seem to have to the moon, and all of these things, creating it as a mental imagery, a collective mental imagery to produce what that moon is. I mean, if we're all collectively hallucinating here anyways, breathing in this oxygen and making this environment and talking, why couldn't we be collectively somehow projecting the moon? Especially when you start to see anomalies, to go, oh, maybe there's some magicians out here just give me a little wink, like, when putting the moon there, it's a whole different system. And Tom Corner, the thing on the chemtrails, I will say this in the same way. If everything is so within, so without, maybe the chemtrails are because of how much garbage we're ingesting. Like, look, right now, there's no chemtrails here. There's barely ever chemtrails where I live. Because then again, I seem to have, I don't know, for the most part, a cleaner mentality and a cleaner set of things that I ingest. Generally. I mean, there's definitely times that my diet is horrific, and apparently You know, it's in Men in Black 3, right? Where she goes, it's always raining, so I cry. And they go, no, honey, it's raining because you cry. And so in that same way, like, are the things we're ingesting actually reflecting themselves out there in the skies? Like, how much chemical are you putting in your body? How much control do you think, and how much do you want over this? I think it tends to be this thing which the universe just asks you again and again and again on repeat. How much control do you want over this landscape? How much would you like to architect everything? I'm going to show you. Here's what's going on. Here, you putting this in your body. Okay. Here's some cloud cover. You don't want all that sunshine. You don't want all that melanin. You don't want all the melanation. You don't want all the see, because there's a big connection between melatonin and melanin. Melatonin is the sleepy, makes you dream, and melanin, there's a big connection there. But anyways, how much control do you want of architecting this reality? And I think it has something to do with that cycling it out there to back into. Resonance Creative, I do have a bunch of Magic 101 type videos. I'll do another one really soon. It's a lot of them were look last year around this time. It's whenever I did a big series, maybe 2 weeks worth of Christmas presents, and there's a lot of deeper magic things in there. And yeah, look around December last year. But I'll do some more soon. And if there's anything specific, whatever, we can dig into it right now. Ask me whatever you want. I mean, it's hard to give. I always say this: it's hard to give 101s because everyone's starting from a different place. I can't deprogram someone and put them into a place of understanding language if their mind works numerically. If someone's working on a numeric system and believes that math operates the universe, I somehow have to crush their code of believing that there are 7 colors in the rainbow, that 9 is the infinite universal principle, and that 1 and 0 control everything. That would be a lot of deprogramming. So for somebody else, I'd have to find somebody, to explain to you where to start. I have to start from where you are, and I have to backtrack. I have to backwards map your existence for you and help you do that, so you can throw all of the garbage away. So that way, whenever I say something, you're not like, oh, build up to this principle that you thought you had about how things work. If there was a 101, the 101 is you create the universe with your thoughts. Okay, that's simple enough. But then, okay, what's next? Like, well, how do I work with my thoughts, though? Well, your thoughts are occurring because you believe in numbers. Your thoughts are occurring because you believe when you were, up until you were 20, that Jesus Christ was your Lord and Savior. You believe that, or science happens to be your God. Oh, you think you live on... So there's a lot of deprogramming that needs to happen before people can actually see and apply magic properly. Meaning you have to have a blank slate in your mind to learn how to create, and that is essentially what a 101 is that's what that meditation is for, to get into that space of going and then find yourself in that matrix room where he's like sitting there and it's all white, and from there you start programming your reality. And you need to think of it that way when you're walking down the street. You're not walking down the street, you're standing there, you're inside of your body, and from there you start to go, okay, what is it that I would like to interact with? And then one of the videos I did that you can look into, it was one of my really early ones, actually. It's really, really sloppily drawn. It was about, I think it's called the boomerang effect. Something about Santa and Satan, and a really, really early video I did. And you'll see, I think it's you'll see a chimney, and I was explaining the idea of Santa Claus and Satan, and the way that the frequencies of your mind interact with time to give you reality back to you, and that's part of the magical process. Mirrors freak you out? Yeah, mirrors are interesting stuff, huh? Why is it that a mirror freaks you out? What's the dilemma? Yeah, Katesh, that's funny. I've had a lot of people. I saw the moon when I was talking about it. It was this way, and then it was back this way, like 2 hours later. It was really strange. And I've definitely seen the moon change sizes and colors, like to a degree that was well beyond the fact that it was just getting a little farther away. It was like it was much bigger. It was like the difference between, where was this out here? It being like this big and being like that big. And the color went from like an orange to something else. But, you know, that could be some chemicals in the sky and whatever, but... Yeah, Kia, that's interesting. You said you experienced Inception. It's interesting whenever you're able to talk to people in dreams and then say, hey, do you know you're in a dream? I've done that in dreams, and people like basically look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, you're in a dream right now. You can do anything you want. And they're sitting there like writing or reading the paper or doing something. And then I start levitating, and people get kind of like freaked out. Because one of the things I do a lot in the dream is I'll levitate or I'll start flying. Levitating I do all the time in dreams because it's interesting. And people are like, what? What are you doing? How are you levitating? And sometimes I'm in realities where everyone can kind of do that. But most people are just on their phone or doing whatever they're doing unaware. So, Zet Crony, you've had a name for your world, Gia. G-U. For a few years, you've been procrastinating with creating the details. Yeah, the detail, you know, they say the devil is in the details, right? Because once you start getting in the details, how detailed can you make something? How much can you really, energy do you put into one little aspect of the creation? You could do it forever. It's almost as if we're doing this forever. Which is part of the reason why people jump into other people's imaginations. Like the movie, the last Heath Ledger film, although I really highly doubt that was his last film, but what's it called? The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. If you haven't seen that, go watch that. And this is the idea of jumping into other people's imaginations. We're all doing it. We're all doing it to a degree. And I wonder, like, who is, like, are we in our own imagination as the biggest concept? Yeah, obviously. But while we're playing these games and going along and playing games, we jump into, if you go to the theater, you're jumping into someone's imagination. If you go to a baseball game, you're jumping into the imagination of those people. If so whatever you're doing, if you're interacting with someone, you're trading whose imagination are you in. And so that's part of the, that part where like everything is what was it? Relax. Everything isn't under control. That's the good thing. We're like, here, you take the wheel for a little while. You deal with the imagination. I trust you. Let's go. And then you go, okay, back to me. Let's draw this out and let's further this. That's the collective creative potential of all of us, of going, okay, who is it here in this group that we can trust to make this imagination better? And whatever better is, to like more precise, more holistic, more of whatever it is. And then we just trade that off and find ourselves in more expansive, emancipated, just something that's a broader stroke of everything that allows people to, this is closer to the Venus project. This is closer to whatever it is that you have in your mind of what a better creation would be. And some people, as they say, the ladder goes up and the ladder goes down. I mean, you could go to a different creation. Everybody's done this. Everybody's been in a better place than a worse place, better place, because of the ways that we've let our minds take that little, we're on this path, and then it takes a little right path, and we forgot to grab our mind and bring it back. We're like, get back over here. Your thoughts and these things coming out of your head are like little children, like, get back in here, follow that line, go that way. What up, Andrew Christensen? Yeah, gazing at the moon is an interesting one. I've never really tried it, but I've heard what's his name? I got stuck there. I was like, what's his name? Well, he's an artist and he does things on Flat Earth, and I've mentioned him before. Black dude. He talks about staring at the moon. I'll get his name in a second. He talks about staring at the moon, and he was feeling his energy being sucked out of him, his chi, his prana, he could feel it, and basically it was just extracting. He called it the Pac-Man moon, right? Anybody heard about this before? Pac-Man moon idea. Grim Nasty, man, and Grim Nasty was talking about what the moon does. Blarg blar. So, Cam, I'm back at 2:44. I don't know how far behind I am here. I'm like 15 minutes behind. You said the sun doesn't light up the moon. Was that a question? How could it be? The sun doesn't light up the moon, obviously. It's in the same sky. If it did, you'd see the whole moon, yeah? I don't know if you're asking or... there is an opportunity. There is a chance. There is something that maybe the sun charges the moon, or maybe the sun charges the moon off of the Earth, or that the moon is just extracting energy, and I can't really tell angularly or what's going on and why we can see through it, so there's way too many anomalies about trying to figure out what the hell it is. But certainly, directly, it's not being charged. You'd see the whole thing, you know? Lingering ass moon hanging around. Yeah, it is pretty funny. I've many times seen in my dreams multiple suns and multiple moons in the sky. Cam, what are you talking about? Tell you about eggplants? What about eggplants? Is that a joke? I'm me. Are you curious about like nutrition of it? Like for real, or I can't really tell. Funk concerts in New Orleans. Am I into soul music? Of course. America. American means soul something. I did this the other day and I totally forgot to write it down. I said I was going to tell you. American, it comes from two words that means soul being or something. It's like French and Spanish or something. And yeah, of course, man. I go watch a lot of live music. You should go check out my Instagram, man. There's some earlier videos I took from being out, like watching some really, really, really awesome music in the streets, man. Wayne Johnson, yeah, I dig you there, man. I think the sun could be, I think it always could have been. Who knows what the sun was to begin with, and who knows if it wasn't always a fake object in the sky. Who knows that they're both not literally man-made objects. I don't discount that that's a possibility. I don't necessarily think it's an organic creature in the sky. I don't think a lot of people say, oh, the sun has a soul, the sun is its own entity. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't know. It could be it seems like it might be a portal to somewhere. It could be a simulator that's sitting in the sky because of the different densities, and it could be using electromagnetics to, you know, this is obvious, but if somebody could go ahead and just start levitating and go out to the sun, you'd burn. You would definitely, you know, closer you get to the sun, it does get a little hot, huh? I wonder what temperature the sun is, like right where it is. Chemtrails all over Miami. Well, Miami's a dirty ass city. Miami? You're Miami though? Miami means my friend in French. What's up, GP Duran? Yeah, interesting. About chemtrails, it depends on. It's very interesting of when and where they are, but I don't discount the idea that in some way we manifest them. Cam, your question about white people being descendants of albino melanated beings. I can't answer that directly. I don't have that knowledge. It does seem to me some interesting things about the shape of people and how close we have been to the equator. How long would it take for someone to lose their complete melanation and to change facial structure, change hair structure, to alter their genetic codings and their DNA? Or is there literally a different species of people that were outside of what we would consider, like if our flat earth, right, flat realm is literally like there's bubble and bubble and a bubble and a bubble, right? And we're inside one bubble and there's another bubble like 1,000 miles, 10,000 miles that way or 10,000 miles that way. And there's these bubbles, right? That somebody didn't come to the bubble, come in through the gate, and that is the white people. And over here there's these Asian people. And they come from somewhere that there's, you know, their orb was over here and they jumped into ours. And maybe Earth is where it all collectively came together. And maybe from here there are people that actually from Earth go out and go into a place where you see what you'd call a gray alien or a dragon or something. Maybe there was some let into our cage. And then, again, this is not like, oh, you're stuck here cage. I'm saying it in the sense of like, no, there's multiple things of this. It's like going into another house or going into another room or going into another space. You know, they all can be, you can set your house, you know, as they say, in my house there are many mansions. And we're in one mansion. And, you know, like in your house, you got one room set to 80 degrees, another one set to 60 degrees, another one set to whatever. And it's a different set of beings and geometries based upon what's going on there. What is the vibration that's occurring there? What is the, so like on Earth, in Earth, where we are on top of it, it seems to be there's some harmonic resonance, the Schumann resonance 7.83, or maybe it's changed now, that gives a level playing surface of the same set of vibrations that can occur within this realm. That when we hit the C note, it should be 440, right, or 432, right? And then things that outside of there ain't looking right. But we could go somewhere where the standard resonance for that plate that everyone's living on top of is sitting at like 25 hertz. Well, then it's starting at a different place, so the geometries that would exist in there would be different. Super Champion Rocker, what's up? Resonance Creative, that's excellent. Stephen Coe, excellent. Well, let me, yeah, I want to hear more about that, man. Get back into that meditation, see if you can find it. Kia, the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. It's got Johnny Depp, Heath Ledger. It's awesome movie. One of my top 10 for sure. Stephen Coe, you said you remember she said the way you look at the card and the table and the way you sat down tells me that you're like this and kind of a person. It was insane. Remember that I pulled the moon card for you? Are you talking about me when I did? Yeah, that was when I pulled that card that you had told me that was in your room as a child, that you had the same exact card the only card that I pulled for you. What up, Mr. Stockholm? Good to see you, man. Manny Farm, you're so mad at the Freemasons, man. You should probably, you know, you'd probably better not to be so mad at them, because maybe you're one of them. Anybody that's been in the school system is Masonic. You went through the degrees. You're just mad at yourself. And what if I told you I was one? Would you be mad at me? Would you dislike me? Would you think that I caused all this world to happen the way that it's happening and I've ruined your life? Would you be upset if I just threw up some gang signs? The Bloods, the Crips. How about a Freemason hand sign? Would you like that one? Is that too much? Or should I do this one? Or which one should I do? Or do you want me to... Or if I did that, is that gonna prove something to someone? Or is it that way? Or is it that way? Which... Oh no, shit. Did I throw this... There they are. Oh no. Goddamn those fucking free building motherfuckers. Man, well, you're lucky they're not as mad at you as you are at them, huh? Yeah, there you go. GP Duran in the Truman Show is controlling everything, the whole show from the moon, right? Yeah, well, he was inside of the... Yeah, that's an interesting movie. I like that. It's a lot of fun. Alright, Katesh. Manny Farm, what do I think about that? I've covered that before. I don't give a shit, you know? What are my thoughts on the whole world being an artificial replicate of the real world? It doesn't really matter. What does it matter? I'm having this experience, so are you, you know? So if I'm having this experience and I can feel it and I'm participating in it, who cares if we're in an artificial matrix? This is still an experience and I'm having it. Not much you can do about it, you know? There's... Okay, so we're in an artificial matrix. Oh, we're inside of computer simulation. Oh well. What would be the difference if I was in the real world or this one? It's of the same. If it's a replica, it still is. It still is giving me this experience. I know I've been out of body before, whatever that means, and I've been in places like this. So what does that prove? Did I dip into a real world, or did I dip into another artificial matrix, So, for me, it doesn't really faze me. I don't really care. It doesn't. It's like people. That's like a question to me that people like bring up, but it has nothing to do with anything. Like you're sitting there at a pizza party, or you know, hanging out with your friends, and then somebody's like, "Well, did you know that in China in 1630, the Great Wall was constructed by a bunch of dead lesbians?" Okay. How is that affecting me right now today? What can we do about this? I mean, to me, it's the same thing that I've said before about the concept of people are still living in their minds about slavery, reparations. They're still living in a Hitler mindset. They're still living in but the evil this and all of those people, and what's it got to do with anything? What's it got to do with you? What's it got to do with your experience? What's it got to do with helping your neighbor? What's it got to do with making your life better? I don't know. As far as I can see, as far as I can tell, as far as I can experience, you know. Cam, I like that. I mean, that's a possibility. The sun is an aperture in a glass of a snow globe, the glass rotating and open, moving around. We're in a snow globe drifting in an ocean of light. Yeah, I think there's an ocean above us of water, and I think there's probably even the way that we would think that something's underground, and that like that movie where all these tubes are underground, like little like gerbil or hamster things, but it's all water. And there's something above that even. What's not to say that doesn't happen. You know, there's not water around everything with a bunch of different levels, and you know, that seems close. Yeah, I mean, Wayne, I've looked at it. I don't know what the same sun was or ever was, or it is. You know, it seems to be warm. It seems to be growing things. Just is there on the back of it an emblem of Nike? Like, does Nike own the sun right now? Maybe. I don't know. Does anybody want to make a sun with me? Do you want to figure out how to make a sun and throw it up into the sky, and we start charging things with the sun, and we put it on a certain vibrational frequency, and then only our materials and computers and shit will work on. You know, I don't know. It just seems to be only so many things you can do about so many things. So even if it is artificial, it seems to be doing something. And unless it's a problem, then it's not a problem. Unless we can find a solution, then what's the use? You know? Yeah, I don't know, Tom Corner, I don't know about the sun having changed in any way. I mean, maybe I did it. I stared at the sun for 2 hours straight on the eclipse. Maybe I changed it. Kia, I think listening to 432 and 528 are beneficial. I think it gives you a nice bass, harmonic, and healthy state for your being to be in. Because it's obviously a constructive waveform rather than a destructive one. You can see simply by looking at any of those videos online of somebody putting sand on a speaker and then it'll make a shape. And some are interference and some are create order, some sort of shape, some geometry. So yeah, I think those are helpful. Yeah, Manny Farm, I don't know, you know, I think there's so many things out there these days that there's so much information. Research the sun simulator, okay. But back to you again, like, what are we going to do about it? Who cares? Are you going to go shoot the moon down? Are you going to shoot the sun down? There's so many things that have gone on since I've been alive that people always talk about and, like, freak out about. Like, the money it's all fiat currency. Well, what did anybody do about it? What are we doing about it? You're still going to go and pump your gas in your car and use that fake monopoly money. Like, I get it, but okay, so it's a sun simulator and the whole thing's a simulation. It still comes back to, well, you still seem to be living here. I just don't, I don't like bringing things up like that. I just don't, I don't get what the point is. What is it going to do for anyone? Is it, even if it is a sun simulator, is it causing us harm? Seems to be more harm in the fact that somebody's not going to the places that are poisoning the water and just shutting down those plants, or making sure these people are educated enough to stop putting poison in the water, or educating people to don't buy the prescription drugs because they're literally poisoning you. Like, that seems to be a somewhat a solvable problem on a personal level for each individual to do, and hopefully on a macro level as well, where people that are in these institutions start to get wise to the, okay, this is just poison, let's stop poisoning our brothers and sisters. That's the next step. But from the level of what the hell are we going to do about it? We're going to sit here and just go, man, the sun is a simulator. The sun's a simulator. Damn it. You know what? I'm still sitting here like I'm getting a suntan. I'm still reading this book, and I'm dry. You know, I don't. I hope that makes sense, man. Kia, my top 5, I've always said, where there's a couple on Magic. Hero by Jet Li, with Jet Li in it. Hero. That's probably number 3. Dr. Parnassus, because I just put it. I'll put it as number 5. The Prestige, probably number 4, number 2. I can't really tell. And the let's see. There are so many for so many different reasons. The Fountain is number 1. There's not even a question about that. The Fountain is like the greatest movie ever made for me. I mean, Hero is really, really great, and I think it speaks to a wider audience because of the way it's filmed and the cinematography and the colors, and the story is a lot more universal culturally. But as far as like getting right to it and like, yeah, those, I'll give you those 4. No, think about a 5th one. What's up, Sky Hopper? Good to see you, man. And yeah, we're starting this PP on the 1st of the year, or the 1st of the December. It's probably gonna be 5 days, maybe a few more. So if y'all want to jump on, I just did the video yesterday. So if you want to get in this fast thing, we'll speed things up. Yeah, you know what? I mean, people are people. Once you give anybody a badge or a title or something, they become a smaller version of themselves. Humans are humans are humans. All humans are good. Then you give somebody some sort of cloak or badge or something, then they become a refined definition towards something specific that they think they need to become, and they are already everything. So why would you ever be less than that? Which would be anybody that thinks, I'm a doctor, I'm a blah blah blah. I mean, it's all silly. But there was a reason, I think, at one time that the information was moved and held from certain people, because maybe there were some wild ass motherfuckers that came through, you know, that maybe some aliens, maybe some from another place, and they were trying to steal all of the knowledge and the gold and the, you know, maybe all of that happened. But certainly where we are now, it just seems like there's much more of an open source economy of information, language, power, energy that everyone has access to if they'll follow the right path of, and I say right path, I just mean learning, engaging with the universe, and finding better ways of being whatever human is. Man, yeah, Tom Corner. PP, man. PP all day. Zach Chrono, sleep paralysis does not mean anything but you had sleep paralysis. I mean, sleep paralysis is supposed to be the time when your body shuts off. So it's called mind awake, body asleep. And you keep your mind awake. So that way you can go and do things. And it doesn't engage your mind with your body. So that way, all of the things you're doing in your sleep, think about a dog or a cat that's doing something, all of a sudden you see their legs start moving, and then they'll do something. Well, that connection that was supposed to be shut off actually stayed intact. So they're in their dream, walking through and doing their things, and their muscles and their body is still attached to their brain, and it should have been cut off. And that's what happens in sleep paralysis. You should be in sleep paralysis, and you should be getting out of body. But not necessarily. You could have sleep paralysis and still be in a subconscious mental realm. This doesn't necessarily mean you are, but you probably are. Yeah, everything is misinformation. The biggest thing you can know ever in this world is everything is misinformation. There's so many little pieces of truth. And anything you're watching on any sort of major media is just there for misinformation. It's basically telling the same story again and again. Pay attention to yourself and get your world right. That's what it's telling you. Everybody's like, oh, the chaos in the world. No. You're watching a black screen. It's a magical device that, unless you see it as a separate thing that has nothing to do with you, and once you get sucked into it, engaged in it, as if somehow that has anything to do with you, that's the dilemma. It's all misinformation, meaning it's just who cares? Who cares what's in this? I even see, like, whenever I do these, like, read a book, who cares what's in here? I'll piece this together, and if this has any value in my life, great. And hopefully I can share that with people. But all in all, as I've said before, how many words have been written? How many words across the world? How many books are there? How many words? How many chapters are in how many books? How many words are in how many chapters are in how many books across all of time and space in, like, let's just say the last 500 years? How many words have been written? How many sentences that are just fucking dog shit, not true, not helpful, not delightful? What percentage of them? Like, how many billions and trillions and zillions, and I can't even think of the number of things that have been written that just have no value whatsoever. And you can think of, like, even a day in your life. There are parts of your life where you go, there was no value to what I was doing here. You don't have to have value. I'm not suggesting that everything has to have value or some sort of whatever, but we can say, oh yeah, just dicking around today. just doing some bullshit right now. It's helpful sometimes, but I mean, when we get to the source of it, and we say what is valuable here, what has nutritional properties, what can feed us, what can nourish us. That's a very small piece that we get. It's like again, look at a piece of food, look at a fruit, look at a vegetable. The amount of nutrition you're getting out of there is so small in comparison to the size of the thing. You cook a giant meal, you're getting a very small, you're getting a lot of energy taken from you by eating. And then even if we were getting on a level of saying, okay, here's this fruit, how much energy is in this big pineapple, right? However big it is. It's a, you know, very small piece of it. And my phone is almost dead here, y'all. I did bring again my other computer, so if you want, I will continue this if y'all enjoying it. And I figured I was gonna plug this phone in, and I said I was gonna do this yesterday, but I had a bike home and whatever. But maybe I'll do it today. I have a list of about 100 or 150 topics on this phone, because every time I'm kind of just out and about, I'll write down a topic I want to do a show on it, and I just haven't got around to it. And maybe I'll scroll through that and hit some of the key things, and we'll start expanding on these shows and doing, you know, I want to do some book shows where we'll just, somebody asked me about this a while ago, so if anybody has any ideas, we'll do this on the next show that I'm going to do right after this. You can tell me about books. We can start like doing like, oh, a group book thing, where we'll read a book or whatever, or watch a movie if that's easier, and we'll discuss it and kind of dig into it from the esoteric constructs of what the movie's about, what the book's about. So like I'm just here to like whatever y'all want to do. If you want to, like, this fast thing is because a bunch of people asked me about doing it, so let's do it. If you guys want to do a dream journal thing and try to get out of body and meet up on another realm, we can do that kind of shit too. But like, I'm gonna scroll through this right now. I'm gonna get off of here. I'll be back in 10 minutes. I gotta go put this on charge, and yeah, cool. And as always, guys, you can give me a thumbs up, and for whoever here in the future, if any of this serves you well, you can feel free to push any of the buttons to donate your hard-earned time and money and currency, and provide me with a little bit of energy so that I can continue to do these videos for all of you and share my abundance of knowledge, as I am basically an encyclopedia of knowledge of the entire cosmos. Resonance, I can't wait to talk about that. Rainbow Grid? Yeah, Resonance, bring this up on the next episode. Manny Farm, you're trying to get rid of the whole Matrix? Damn, hey, good luck, I guess. I'd like to be I would love to get in on whatever you're doing. I'd love to pay attention to whatever you think you're gonna change or fix. Shut it down, B. Shut it down. I don't know what part of it or what aspect of life or Matrix you're trying to get rid of, but I'd be interested in listening. Oh shoot, look at this. How very exciting. The streetcar is back on. What a good day. And Resonance, I'll talk about it again we'll talk about Bitcoin again, but John W. Wicked, good to see you. So I'm just scrolling through this last little bit of what y'all had to say, but my phone's about to be dead any second now. And Stephen Carr, I told you I'll get back into this in a second. So I'm at like 3:15, y'all. So whatever comments you made from there, you got to get back at me the next one. What up, Lumeno? All right, y'all. I'm going to see you in like 10 minutes. Peace.